Welcome to the Evolve Talent and HR show. We are building the rooms where HR and talent leaders learn, connect, and evolve. I'm Anna Morgan, and this is the space where people first leaders come for courageous conversations. Whether you're leading from the C suite, emerging as a new voice, building community, or driving change within your organization, this show is for you. Every episode brings voices that are driving change in the HR and talent community. We're going to get into the strategies, conversations, and movements that matter. Because here's what we know. Every conversation matters. Every introduction, every shared experience, it creates momentum that extends far beyond the room. And that is the Evolve multiplier. When we collaborate over compete, when we connect with intention, the opportunities, the relationships, and the impact compound across our entire community. You've tuned into a podcast, but this is actually your connection to the entire Evolve ecosystem. New episodes come out weekly. Now it's your turn to evolve. Welcome. Hi. So I have been reflecting a ton on my Evolve journey, how it came to be, and the truth is, it didn't start with a business plan, and I didn't have a whole big vision. It started because of legacy and my 50th birthday, and a little bit of I'm tired of trying to pass the mic or get the mic on various stages in our industry. And so I'm going to take you back. So, thank you for joining. And I will be honest, this feels very uncomfortable. If you know me, you know that I like to highlight all the other people, and I would rather not talk about myself. So just bear with me. And I am a little overtired, but I told my team I would record this today. So it is after 9:30 p.m. and we're going to have a little chat, little story time. And really what has prompted this reflection has been what I'm building next. And like I said, Evolve didn't come from a big business plan. It came really by accident. But when I think back, I have been building the rooms and the spaces for people to gather since I was a kid. I'm Gen X. I am 51 and I'm the oldest of five. And I grew up here in Georgia. And my mother is such a badass, y'all. She was an incredible host, an amazing party planner and fundraising planner. And just like in today's world, she would be the customer success and event guru. Like no detail was ever missed. And no matter if it was a 400-person 4th of July celebration in the backyard with games and mint juleps and catered food and all kinds of games, or having her sorority sisters come for New Year's Eve. And man, those were ragers. I was a teenager and I remember I might have taken a few swigs of the Jim Beam. I was on the table. Yeah, don't tell mom. Anyway, mom knows. So I'm the oldest of five and we're all pretty compact. So I think the youngest and I are like 12 years apart. So I got to take part in being the helper, and which is perfect for my DNA. So I was always a part of that. And while other kids were watching Saturday cartoons, those were on in the background. And I was flipping through the Martha Stewart magazines, the Southern Home, The Living, and 17 at the time, let's be honest. And kind of earmarking the stuff that I liked, or going up to mom and being like, let's make this kind of thing. There's a difference. I wasn't a crafty girl or nitty girl. Like, I just loved watching people gather. And I loved seeing my parents just make their friends and family feel so connected. And post-COVID, things have gotten very connected and we have access to so much information. And how is it possible that we have all these ways to connect, but we're all freaking lonely. I mean, the data, y'all. The World Health Organization said, I think it was back in 23, that this is an epidemic of loneliness. The data revealed like almost more than half of Americans reporting feeling isolated, unconnected, all of the things. Coming up in the world of work, I didn't know conferences were available for recruiters. I know that sounds kind of dumb, but just stick with me. Probably because I was so busy selling and filling and crushing it in my recruiting and talent recruitment experience. Sometimes words are hard, so stick with me. My parents just made everyone feel welcome, and I am so glad that I trusted the nudge to put together my first conference. I don't like to tell the story that I built Evolve out of rejection, because that's only a quarter true. I had applied to a fair amount of places, because after I think 2020, I started going to conferences and events and just getting out there because I was lonely. And I'm like, man, why did my CHRO not send us to RecFest, my favorite? When I landed in an amazing event like RecFest, shout out Jamie Leonard and his team, the first year, I was like, oh my gosh, it's outside. We're talking about recruiting and people leadership and AI and how to be better and how to change the world of work and get more people jobs, get more money in people's pocket. And I was kind of awkward and excited. And there was actually a funny memory that came up on Facebook yesterday that said, in 2011, I'm so excited. I'm hosting my first HR training social. Well, 15 years later, July of 26, I am still excited, but I am a tiny bit better with words, to be determined. That in itself shows you how long I've been building unique spaces to gain influence and access. Because when I was in the agency world, I always kind of went the opposite way people were going, where everyone was like either emailing for a job order or researching. Nobody was making cold calls. But I was, because I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie. I just want to see what could happen. But one of the ways that I accelerated my business in so many different places, whether it was agency or corporate or RPO or my own thing, was through community. And because I'm not transactional, I want to know people. And I'm so blessed to have the brain that I have, because I'm curious. And I always want to connect the dots, and really the questions never stop. I grew up in Atlanta. I'm the oldest of five. All our names start with A, by the way: Anna, Andrew, Amanda, April, and Addison. My mom was saying a lot, or she was calling me April or Amanda, and Andrew, Addison, and sometimes a random other name. But we responded because we were good kids and we were obedient children. Hashtag Gen X. You know better than to talk back to your parents. I always tell my teen that she never would have survived my childhood. Anyway, so I was the helper. I was by my mom's arm putting together these epic community events. She was a volunteer at the school, like did these Christmas bazaars in the gym. So fun. That was my start. And then as I advanced in my recruiting career, I used lunch and learns and HR training socials to gather people. And that's when they dropped the armor. We're ready to learn the content. And I guess appreciative that I had put that together, which then earned me the right to say, hey, Joe, thanks so much for coming to the HR training social. How about that job order? I got a great AP candidate for that job. But it's all about earning the right to ask. And that was something that worked for me through meals, tables, events, and now later conferences. So anyway, fast forward to surviving agency. being a top biller, but never wanting to take on a management role because I like money. And I was like, I don't want to be responsible for those kids that aren't cold calling and going on client visits and doing the things. So I stayed in IC for a long time, and that suited me well. I don't think leadership has to do with your damn title. Strong opinion, don't care. If you can drive change, gain access, and you can influence change within an organization, you're a leader. Thank you very much. So I had my child, Charlotte, back in 2008. And at that point, you start looking at things a little bit differently. I got tapped on the shoulder to go internal with a Fortune 500 TA team. And I was like, hell yeah. And I had a moment though, because I was like, man, isn't it the rumor that only crappy agency recruiters go in-house? And I had to sit with that for a minute. And I'm like, whatever, I'm going. I can do this job with one eye closed, and had an amazing time there. I remember first year, I filled over like 120 roles and saved the company like 1.2. Could it be 1.2? And it was like over $1 million in agency fees. So well done, Morgan. Hoping my memory's serving me right. So did that, loved it. And then I got laid off in 2020, like many, many people. And I would say during my corporate stint, I wasn't doing events as much, but I was the annoying person in corporate that was on the committees and wanted to play the games and volunteered to host whatever it was, birthdays, dress up for Halloween. My experience there was like Debbie Downer. Nobody wants to dress up like firefighters. Why not? We work in HR and talent. Like, get out the hose. Anyway, I digress. And wasn't doing that much. And then I got laid off, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm going to be a coach like every other person on LinkedIn. And took fast action, started the, what was it? Oh my gosh, Michael Goldberg. Why can't I remember this? The job search hotline. And the reason for that, there was this Silvers song way back from like 50s, 60s, 70s that was like hotline, hotline. And I played that at the beginning of every Zoom meeting, and job seekers just showed up. Recruiters partnered with me, and we did that for several months. Then I partnered with a group called Job Connection Tuesday, where we hosted office hours and gave feedback and advice and all the things. I also got together with several other coaches, and we hosted weekly audio events on Clubhouse. Anyone remember the Clubhouse days? Yes. Audio is amazing. I do get tired of video. One, because I don't do well when I'm trying to actually just get a message out. As you can see, I'm a little long winded and I'm really insecure sometimes. And I've been trying to film some content recently. And that's also something that has brought up a lot of big feelings, and why I felt compelled to use this time to record a solo episode, again, to share what happened, what it was like, and where we're going today. We're in corporate. So I got laid off, started these different communities, 9 months with some fellow coaches on Clubhouse, where I had to find the guest, determine the topic, make the graphic, invite the people, all the things. And that was a labor of love, but it made me a little crispy, burnt me out some. And I was like, oh, I'm not doing this anymore. And then LinkedIn, my favorite playground, came out with audio events. Live podcast. How fun without my face. And from Job Connection Tuesday and then Clubhouse went into Ask a Recruiter audio events. And I was so lucky that all these gracious, amazing recruiters, y'all know who you are, would sign up, show up, and share the stage with me. And we were there for job seekers who were beaten down, ghosted, had had enough, were getting really crappy guidance out there on those LinkedIn streets. And I just thought, like, what better way for job seekers to find comfort and real content other than hearing from recruiters in a vast bucket of experience. Some had retail, some had tech, some had manufacturing, RPO, agency, internal, just we had the whole lot. We had some key regulars, shout out to Tabitha Kavanaugh, Heather Colvin, Brian Fink. And what was so cool about that experience, not only was it to hear from the job seekers how they took action and to hear the relief in their voice, there was actually something magical happening on the stage between us recruiters. And we were organically leveling each other up by sharing these micro stories with job seekers. It was intertwined with how we do recruiting and how it impacts job seekers. And so there were these light bulb moments going off between us recruiters. And then LinkedIn pulled the plug on audio events. And I would say shortly after that time, since 21, 22, I had been hitting the streets and attending conferences and getting to see all my favorite people in person. And I'm a geek when it comes to being able to take that little LinkedIn circle IRL and give that person a hug. And it's interesting, we tell our kids never to talk to strangers on the internet, but I have made so many deep, heartfelt, authentic relationships through LinkedIn. I'm just here for it. LinkedIn, stick around, babe, because I love you. So Ask a Recruiter was amazing. And that rippled into another segment for a short period of time. While I had been attending conferences, I was there for me to learn because, as many recruiters are feeling right now, like a dinosaur. And how do I stay relevant? What do I prioritize? And how can I do things better, faster, and in a more humane way? Also, through that process, the way my brain works is I was paying attention to, wow, the flow of this is great. The setup is amazing. The light is gorgeous. The topics, the content, signage, the food. I realize now it's because of my childhood and just how I was wired. And I think as a recruiter, we're always curious, but it was my market research of sorts. And then I was like, all my friends are on stage. I want to be on stage. I have something to say. I'm a good recruiter. I put my application in to speak, and shout out to those in this community that did pass me the mic. Craig Fisher at TalentNet. Carrie, thank you for facilitating that all those years ago. Jamie and Lewis. I hate it when I'm bad with names. Mrs. Leonard from Breakfast that gave myself and Tabitha and Aaron Murphy and Tina Sella an opportunity to talk about trust on their stage last year. And that was just a pinch me moment. But outside of that, the only other place I spoke was Sioux Falls Disrupt Talk, 5 minutes. So when you hear the story of Evolve 2025 being built out of rejection, again, small part of it, it was also my 50th birthday. I don't know if I was just going through something, maybe early perimenopause. That's a whole nother episode, but I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to build my own stage because if not now, when? And I made a post just before Thanksgiving on Facebook and I was like, yo, I'm looking for a place to host a conference. Who do you know? One of my old coworkers from my agency days teed me up and said, hey, InfoMart in Marietta has gone all remote. They have a giant meeting space and a commercial kitchen in the back. How cool is that? And the founder is Tammy Cohen, who is one of the female OGs here in Atlanta. And I was like, oh my gosh, another old touch point is coming back around, and reached out and everything just came together so seamlessly. I made the post, connected with Tammy. They said yes. And then we were off to the races. And then at that point, I was like, I need to fund this conference. So I need sponsors. And I'm so lucky just to have people that give a shit in my life. I've also learned through my own healing journey that we have to ask for help. So, part of a story you need to know is that I'm an alcoholic. I quit drinking May of 2011, and I have been alcohol free since then. And through that journey, I have learned how to pick up the phone and say, Kathy, we're doing this. I need to get some sponsors. I showed up to my very first sales call, and anyone who's done sales or has to pitch or propose, it's scary when you do it for the first time because I didn't have a manager. I didn't have a morning huddle, and we weren't role playing in the mornings. Got on the call, and I felt like I said 10 words. And Lou said, yeah, I'm in 5K. Let's go. And this will be my contribution to the event. And I kid you not, I was smiling, but when the Zoom thing closed, I was like, and I literally took the call while I was waiting for my car at a car dealership. All the things could have gone wrong, internet, noise, whatever, but it didn't. And then I was like, okay, here we go. So, first conference, we had 75 attendees, and that's not much, but it was enough. And I had 10 sponsors. Thank you, thank you, thank you, all of you that believed in Evolve number one. I mean, it was great. Like, shit went sideways for sure. Catering was a little bit of a hot mess and not what I wanted. But the key to that story is showing up is important. Two, you never know how all of those relationships you built over time will come together at a big tipping point. And on my 50th birthday, I was like, let's go. I had to pick up the phone and say, hey, Trent Cotton, will you talk about AI? Judy Fox, LinkedIn expert, will you come and talk about newsletters for our community? And they all said yes. I was like, yay, universe, I love you. So it was just like all in alignment. And we celebrated my birthday. We had, gosh, 16 speakers, and it was all so, so good. Jess Miller Merrill did an amazing session about how to do breath work at work. Now, why would a talent and HR conference have that type of session? Because I want it. No, just kidding. Really, because I'm seeing our community finally at the peak, and they are burnt out. They're dealing with pandemic burn, just burnout, decision fatigue, job hugging, whatever the latest whatever is. And I love my HR and talent people, and introducing, and I'm seeing professionals now embrace more of these modalities, such as breath work, as movement, gratitude, all of the things. And I also include that and a lot of topics selfishly that are interesting to me, but I'm always keeping you all in mind in a wide variety of ways. But when you're building something from scratch, it's not glamorous and you go with what you know. I think it was just before COVID, I had signed up for this retreat. It's a very woo retreat in Costa Rica. And it was Kundalini yoga. That's a big word. And I was like, I should probably figure out what this is and kind of learn some yoga. Well, in true addict form, I went to yoga and I was like, oh, I love this. Why? Because it is the only way my brain is quieted. So, yoga, breath work, movement saved me from burnout. It has helped me hack my ADHD and has totally made me a more patient, empathetic mother and better spouse. So that's why. That's evolving a little bit, but just to give you a little bit of kind of the backstory there. So I'm like, where am I? So I'm going to take a little sip of my water. I have a straw in my water bottle because Several years ago, I was on a live and I took a swig out of a Pellegrino bottle. Again, I don't drink, but I am a connoisseur of sparkling water. And behind the scenes on this live, another host or speaker, she was saying it looked like phallic or just like inappropriate. And I remember just being like overwhelmed with shame. And ever since then, I really try not to take a swig of my bubbly water. Anyway, that was a squirrely moment. Sorry. I think this is a perfect time to tell you about my big, beautiful, strange brain. So I told you I was the oldest of five, and I have a different father than my four other siblings. So brain, body, genetics, a little bit different. And my other siblings were good students, great athletes, all the things. School was not my favorite. So by the time I had repeated fifth grade for the second time, I was like, oh, some things are not like the others. And my parents sent me for this evaluation. So I guess today's psych eval. And it was word problems and math and ink blot images. And it was all the stuff that already made me hate school. And I had been quietly suffering the consequences of my struggles in school since kindergarten. So they did the evaluation and I popped around a couple different schools. I went to 5 high schools in 4 years, and that was interesting. One of my favorites was boarding school. That's another story. But fast forward several years, maybe I'm in early career. I am probably kind of progressing down a dark path with my drug and alcohol problem as well. So I come home for some reason. I was helping my mom probably with a party, and I come across this drawer and I'm like, what is this? And I read this whole psych eval and I'm like, what the actual And I remember feeling just like completely hot with I don't even know, because it's like this thing was saying I would never graduate college. I would probably be a CNA, an hourly worker. It was all of my inadequacies, right? And we as humans start building this tape of who we are and our worth. And I had also found out when I was 12, 13 that I had a different father. And it was just weird, right? Like every kid has weird stuff. I'm not saying I'm unique, but I read this evaluation and took a minute, never said anything to my parents, but it was just what it felt like, a word cloud of all of my not enoughs, right? I sat with that for a bit and I'm like, I know I am not the smartest pencil in the pencil box, but that's where I started thinking about intelligence looks different with different people. And I started letting that seep into my DNA. I use that psych eval as a big, oh yeah, you're going to say that I ain't going to make no money and I ain't going to graduate college, as fuel. That fuel gave me the hope and gas in my tank to figure it out. I've always had a squiggly career of sorts, and I worked in hospitality, I worked in retail, I was a temp for a long time, and I was selling advertising for a local print magazine, getting nickeled and dimed to death for like an ad that was like this big. And I walk out of that sales call and I was like, oh my God, there has to be something else. And I look up, and over a pizza joint is a staffing agency. And I'm like, what the hell? I'll walk in. And I walked in and greeted the coordinator and I was like, hey, I'm Anna. I want to do something other than sell advertising and work in restaurants. And they were like, you'd be a great recruiter. Turns out I was. And what's funny is that I'm still in touch with the office coordinator, shout out Nellie, as well as one of my coworkers, Jill Mayott, and another one, Debbie. I don't know where Preston went, but I've stayed in touch with those folks for a long time, and I started my recruiting career, a whole $28,000 and I think 3% gross margin. And I was fascinated about people's stories and what they did. And oh my gosh, you're the CHRO of this company. How did you get there? What do you guys do? How does that happen? All the things. And it didn't feel like work. And my career progressed and I went agency. I've done corporate. I said that RPO and went out on my own. So I went out on my own. I was doing fractional, doing all these things. I was putting my hat in to speak. I was out networking and I was just like fired up about community and these events and absolutely loving it. But when I didn't get my way, I was like, well, there's enough to go around. And think about how many HR and talent people there are out there. And just because there is a set common group of events doesn't mean there's not room for one more. I took fast action. We did the conference and then, let's see, 25, turned 50. And it was like, whew, okay. And after Evolve, I was still coaching. I was still running a boutique agency behind the scenes. And that is really what helped fund Evolve 25 was my recruiting deals, just direct hire, because it's like, if I place that senior AP specialist, that 18K will pay for X. So then I get to the rest of 25 and it's really funny. July is where I get real motivated, classic ADHD, where I could have been building and doing all these things prior to July, but life on life terms. Then Evolve 26 was coming up fast, y'all. I don't remember when I went to select the Marriott, like what month that was. I was super jazzed and I loved InfoMart, but I wanted more space and more stages. And the TDLR of Evolve 26 is it was fantastic. We doubled in size. We had 25 speakers, about the same partners, and about 175 attendees. I really think 200 is a sweet spot. I'd be interested to hear from you about what you think is the perfect conference size. And I assign seats. I make the sessions more workshop focused, where I don't have a problem with speakers wanting to be a part of Evolve. I'm pretty vigilant in screening and making sure it's in alignment with the goals that I have for the transformation of you all that attend. And it is so intentional. My mom rubbed up on me, and I try to truly think about everyone's needs as I'm building. The facility was amazing, 10xing and pushing this edge to go bigger and classier and all the things pushed me to a limit that was a little bit scary. Then, out of nowhere, this happens to so many people. Things went a little sideways, and my family was in crisis. And I get goosebumps saying that. So, I would say around this time last year, as we were going back to school, my teen was really struggling. And we were having to make decisions that no parent wants to make. And that looked like a ton of research and phone calls and applications and sessions, tours, and it was like a full-time job. I'm a mom of only one child, which was hard because I was the oldest of five and I had three miscarriages. And I'm so, so grateful for my little cha-cha. And when stuff like that happens, you're like, nothing else matters, right? But I don't think people talk about like how they got through it as much. So I want to share that because I don't think it's fair that your father passes and you only get 3 days of bereavement. I mean, who are these people writing these policies? Like, we are human. That was happening in the fall. At this point, I had signed contracts, I had made deposits. I had said to the Marriott team, I'm a recruiter who's a wannabe event person. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions and please be patient with me. They weren't as patient as I had hoped. And holy cow, this space is expensive. And that is also a reason that there aren't a ton of other conferences just popping up because it's hard, it's expensive, and there's no guarantees, right? As a little bit of a adrenaline junkie, I'm weighing the pros and cons, and I'm also trying to coach and recruit and build, evolve, and manage my daughter. So, how did I get through it? I'm very good at compartmentalizing. I think the answer was having friends that I could pick up the phone and just talk with. And if it wasn't for my recovery journey, I probably would have isolated and stuffed and stuffed and stuffed and either put food or maybe picked up a drink. But when I found myself taking actions in service of Evolve, thinking about the people who celebrated, invested, were excited, and want to be a part of what I'm building, that was my North Star. And also my daughter building something for my legacy or so that she sees me doing something important, I guess. But I got through it by picking up the phone and asking for help, trying to take care of myself. But the biggest thing was when I stepped in action of Evolve, I hurt less. And that's selfish, but that was a signal to me that this means something. It wasn't like I just shut out what was happening in my life, but building the conference and figuring things out and getting partners and bouncing off situations of friends and peers and mentors and advisors, like I needed that during that time. Evolve gave me hope. The reason I decided to do a second conference was building Evolve in 69 days, how it organically came about and everything was in alignment. It didn't feel like work. And I was like, holy cow, I love this. And in 26, I brought my sister in as a partner, and thank God because she handled the Marriott and we got it done. I'm just going to be honest, like I lost my shirt on Evolve 26. And it isn't pretty. And like I said, events are expensive. So now Evolve is more than just a single event. Why? Because I ain't closing recruiting deals to fund it. And anyway, I went on vacation a couple days ago and I have challenged myself to push new edges and get my face on camera more and tell more of my story, which is very triggering. So that's why I'm talking to you and we're having story time. That's 44 minutes long. So I lost my shirt. I have built a strategy to make that up, but I'm also using that as kind of as if I were going to take a loan from a bank. That's what I did. So yeah, can we also talk about like your family being in crisis, having to put resources to that, and then me being like, hey, I need money from the family. So shout out to my hubby, shout out to my kiddo. They get it. I do want to say today that we're way on the other side of what things looked like during that time. And my child is safe and thriving. And I'm so grateful. And I learned so much through that. And just know if you're trying to work and you're dealing with something life on like terms that has blindsided you, please ask for help. Reach out. Hopefully you have one thing that can be your North Star, the thing that grounds you and makes you hurt a little bit less, but is a bridge to get you through that season. Because I know so many of you have had similar experiences and I'm not unique. But people are like, how are you dealing with that? And how are you putting a conference together? And it was just, I need to put one foot in front of the other. And I will be honest, I tried really hard to cancel Evolve 26. and I'm stubborn. I'm an athlete. I played every sport under the sun. I'm not as coordinated now at 51, but ain't too bad. And I remember going through the contract and we had changed things up. It was one day, it was 2 days, it was a reception, it was a breakfast, it was a cluster F, and I was losing it. I was like, can I just push it out a few months? And they were like, yeah, you can push it out a few months for $18,000. And I was like, well, no, I'm not gonna lose that. We're gonna get it done. And the other thing that got me through that was the same philosophy that got me through 25, because 25, I was just pouring sweat with imposter syndrome. Who am I to do this? I can't do this. Will people show up? Through my community, I came across this concept of borrowing the belief that others have in you during those times where you feel like a bag of crap and you're shaky and you're feeling like it's impossible. That has been huge, 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 huge for me. The second thing is pay attention to where people show up. The beautiful thing about both 25 and 26 was people came out of the woodwork. The Job Father, Foster Williams, wanted me to be on his show. Richard Rossner, the Shark, wanted to have me on his live. Shout out to Brandon Jeffs, had me both times on a show, or a shout out. Adam Posner and the Purple Acorn crew shouting me out and what we were doing. Brian Fink. So many people were like, how can we help? And I was blown away. And as someone who likes to take care of everyone else, letting people help was also the only way I got through Evolve 26, right? Keep that in mind and know that when you're going through something hard or building something new where you're like, why in the hell did I do this? That your community has you. And that has been one of the coolest, most magical parts of building this is my speakers and my volunteers and my team now, they were just a part of my communities and they followed me from the lunch and learns in my agency days to LinkedIn to the hotline show, Job Connection Tuesday, Ask a Recruiter. It all connected. And they weren't just attendees or speakers or volunteers. They were part of the foundation of that experience, which to me is just like a pinch me moment. And despite the dark clouds in 26, there were moments where I made the ask and it worked out, and by the grace of God. And I'm so, so lucky for the people in my life that believe in what I'm doing in my ADHD haphazard way, right? Messy and imperfect is still done. And I also think what people have reflected back is they like my energy, that I'm real. It ain't all highlight reels and sunshine and roses. I try to share from my heart, and it's my heart and my intuition that drives what we're building. And so now Evolve has several components. We have the IRL conference, which why I am having some big feelings is I was doing this content. I was thinking about 25 and 26, and you can't not compare yourself to the people ahead of you. Again, shout out to the events and the people that I profoundly respect, like Recruiting Innovation Summit, TA Week, TalentNet, RecFest, Transform, Unleash. Y'all make it look easy. And as soon as the conference is done, they already know where they're going. And I'm like, I feel really bad about that. But history and my connections and my community have shown me that it's going to be all right. I'm not going to do Evolve in January of 27 because 26 was hard and weather sucked. So we are looking at September of 27. Atlanta is lovely in October, but somewhere between September and December will be the next IRL event. And you can expect 2 days, lots of breakout sessions, and assigned seats. Y'all, I was really sad that we didn't get to assign seats this year, but there's a whole reason I do that, and it's intentionality and curation, and that same discipline and focus and attention to detail is seen in the other places that we're now building. The evolved tables, where we could have a very small, intimate, structured morning table, because I don't think your true CHRO, CPO, those folks are out at happy hours and dinners because they're not in the business as much. They're taking their peptides, training for their marathons, spending time with their kids. And if they're going to be in community and are interested in gathering and learning, it's going to be during the business day. Just my hot take. But the intentionality and the curation of assigned seats is also a part of the Evolve executive tables. So we want to host executive tables in the Southeast. My connections are best here in Georgia. Second, I would say Nashville. Third, Tampa. But I can get in there and get connected pretty quickly. And many of you know that I have a bad habit of gathering people at conferences, post conferences. So I'm the misfit gatherer at conferences. I'm the includer. So I'm always hosting impromptu dinners and just being like, come. And those are so fun to see the randomness turn into collaborations, content, and mentorship, and all the things. I also have a track record of hosting fringe events. In September, I will be back in Nashville, and we have a hold on another event at the Nashville Zoo. And I did 2024 Ask a Tiger event with all of the recruiters that I had shared the stage with during my audio event time. So we were just wrapping up Ask a Recruiter, and then I noticed, oh my gosh, my whole crew, my whole posse is going to be in Nashville. So I was like, I want to get us all together, because many of them was just meeting for the first time. And then two, I wanted to love on them and celebrate them. So I was like, we're going to do Ask a Tiger, and we're going to have this private tiger experience and yummy food and mocktails and cocktails, animal experiences, all the things. Well, Nashville decided it was going to have a near tornado, and the tigers don't come out in tornadoes. So in true event planner energy, we pivoted and went indoors. We still got to be nose to nose with a flamingo and a really sassy anteater, an animal called a civet, I believe. And alongside of that, we had the zoo step and repeat. It was in this spacious, really cool area that then we set up the food. Then the zookeepers came and gave us a presentation about the tigers. I love doing that, right? And then I would say last year, I was like, why not? And I reached out to a couple partners, and we put together a 200-person event. Myself, Happy Dance, Humanly, and Culture HQ. Thanks, y'all. It was so fun. And I had 2 giant buses show up at the end of the day to pick up attendees and deliver them to the zoo, where they were greeted with a mocktail and a cocktail and a parrot who was outstanding. They traversed down the path, looking at all the beautiful landscapes and a stunning koi fish pond. Then they came around the corner to this stunning tent. We were all set up. Our partners were there, as well as an amazing setup of food. I was doing podcast interviews. It was insane. It was awesome. The bar was outside. We had a fire pit. We had good music. And once everybody connected in the tent, then they went up for dessert at the carousel, which was like perfect Instagram photo moments. And then they finish the night with a zip line. And the zip line is so fun, y'all. Takes you up to the very top of Nashville. So you're looking down at all the honky tonks and the lights and all the things. And then it shoots you down. And to see a bunch of recruiters and talent leaders just squealing with delight and riding the carousel, embracing their inner child, we need more of that. And I'm going to have a strong opinion here. We don't need more honky tonks and reasons for bad behavior. Okay. So I'm a fringe event gal who doesn't prioritize the bar. I prioritize fun and learning and depth and intentionality and curation. I am going to see and have the private tiger experience this year. So, how do I get access to the zoo? I left out that fact. My sister, Amanda, she's the middle child. She was a ballerina, stunning, amazing, sweet, sassy Southern gal. And she's been in events forever and has worked as the director of events at the Nashville Zoo forever. So, I get priority in that regard. And there isn't shame in that because I have the relationship, whether it's my sister or not. So if you are a brand that wants to host a room with a tiger experience, or you want to host the room with your future clients with the tiger, come find me and we can build that table. So I'm probably doing it regardless if I have a partner or not, because it can be the evolved tiger experience. But I really would love to share that with one of our talent tech or partners. Selling sponsorships, and I'm kind of over the whole ecosystem. I think it's a bunch of smoke and mirrors. A lot of the times, I think many of them are hustling and grinding and they're raising funds, all the things, but they get in their own way. And I saw it out in Vegas. Y'all, I spent 10 nights in Vegas. That's a whole nother episode. I think I just blacked it out. But when I was there for Unleash and Transform, at the end of the day, vendors were like running around scrambling to get people to their fringe events. It wasn't just one invitation I got. It was, how do I have all these options? That's where Evolve is evolving, where y'all can hire me to manage that whole process for you. You're already exhausted standing there for hours trying to get people to come over to talk to you. Then you're having to be technical, giving demos, all the things. Like, you're tired. And many of you don't have a brand or event person. So your poor founder or their admin is responsible for trying to get their ideal client to the table. Maybe they get the space, but it's poorly done. And when I say poorly done, you're stuck in a space with crappy acoustics. Nobody knows why they're there. No name tags, no introductions. You're sitting awkwardly for 2 hours in a corner. So you're stuck talking to the same 4 people. And if you're someone that is not an extrovert like I am, that can talk to a wall, a dinner like that is forever. In my experience, those types of situations, there isn't depth. It's surface level. Oh, what do you do? Blah, 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 blah. It's a giant waste of the sponsor or partner's money. Why host an entire table with what you want your future buyers to be? And because you didn't plan well, you've got some random person trying to host and run this fringe event. It's very haphazard. And the way I show up and curate and moderate and host those executive tables is a little bit different. If you watch the show Below Deck, I am the captain, and my team studies the preference sheets of every person that's getting on that ship. And they're looking at their food preferences, about their personality, what they do, what's important to them, their quirks, all the things. And it's that intentionality that they take and build the whole adventure around. That type of discipline and attention is like the difference between an okay yacht luxury vacation and an unforgettable one. So when I host an executive table or a conference or a fringe event, I want unforgettable. I want high touch. I want depth, curated. And it's a delicate dance between facilitating a meal that's overly scripted. So think of those structured networking groups where you're like, you have 30 seconds to stand up and say who you are, whatever it is. And then the buzzer hits and you sit down and you pass business card. Anyway, it's not like that. And the other benefit of curating an experience like that with someone that's been a recruiter that has stayed to date in this space and studies people, where I spoke earlier about gaining access and influence, I am able to make those connection points that are trust accelerators. And in the AI crazy storm and disruption that we're dealing with, not only are people lonely, but they are mistrusting. And when you create an intentional, safe space that has a little structure, and that structure could be like, hey, Brian, I hope you enjoyed your appetizer. I'd really love to have you go sit next to my friend Cindy. And let me tell you why. When you go over there, ask her this question. It's little things like that that make or break an executive table. Cindy meets her new friend and is blown away by the question that opened up the door to a mentorship, to a collaboration, to learned knowledge, right? I would say people come up to me after events and say, girl, you got something special. Special was the big word that was coming up through 26. The other thing is they say, how did you pick these people? Now, a true executive table where we're focused on getting your ICP there, it's a combination of you and me. It's a full court press. It's a team effort, but I am the host and you can focus as the founder or leader of your team. You can focus on the conversations, right? Conversations convert to opportunities, but if people don't know why they're there and who's who, it's just going to be an awkward dinner, right? So intentionality and curation is part of the Evolve executive tables. It's also a part of my flagship conference. And I said earlier, I like to keep in mind the diverse group of folks that say yes to things that I build. And thank you for showing up and believing in me. Another quick story about 26 that almost blew stuff up. Like, it started with this. I have to have a virtual option. I have to have a virtual option. Now, y'all, I am not the gal that watches the recording. I just don't. And going back to my ink blot, not enough evaluation, that's not how I learn. But the peer pressure got to me. I'm like, everyone else has a virtual option. Okay, blah, blah, blah. And I was referred a company and it was out of alignment. It was super confusing and the tech was clunky. Like the stuff was going on with my kiddo and it was a $6,000 mistake. And when you're building under pressure and you're building in a short timeline, you just have to make quick decisions and evaluate the risk. And at that time, I was like, bye-bye. And I do feel like Evolve is best consumed in person because I'm an IRL girl and I hug and I want to be next to you. From 25, I got a piece of feedback where they were like, too much hugging, more sanitizer. So we definitely had enough sanitizer at 26. I have a lot of big feelings about 27 and I'm 51. My partner is kind of slowing down in work, and I'm like, I just feel like I'm getting started. My daughter is going to graduate from high school this year, which is also another reason I am not doing a conference in the spring because my mama friends have said, get ready, senior year is wild. And I don't want to miss any of it. And so taking action in service of my family and prioritizing that, I will say where I'm triggered and I had these feelings of why am I doing this? Oh my God, it's too much. I am like, I've come this far. I'm not stopping. And I believe in Evolve. I believe in this community and what we built. I'm not perfect. I'm not an expert in events, but I love y'all. And I want to create more spaces where I can pass the mic and offer stages and spaces for new and old voices. I know many of us that are in this kind of Gen X millennial range, like it is important to us to share our experience, strength, and hope in recruiting and talent for the future, for the people that will be hiring and continuing to evolve the world of work. Because it matters. And the robots aren't going to take all of the positions. So I just wish that corporations empowered and gave more time and resources to their employees to get out in community because taking your team to a conference, like that's badass. Y'all need to do more of that. You can give them the time, but if you don't give them the resources, like what the hell? Like, are y'all that stingy? Now, I will say, like, events and ticket prices in this space are either cheap or really expensive. And so I'm grappling with that because I want the learning for people to get access to this event. But I also am not going to lose my shirt this year. So things haven't gone perfectly. I should have hosted more executive tables by now. I should have been meeting with more potential sponsors about IRL, but how can I close the sponsor when I don't even know when and where it's going to be? But I've trusted myself and I have 2 years of success, sort of, and it is successful. I mean, they talk about the overnight success being 5, 10 plus years, and I've accelerated my learning. I'm very proud of what I've done this year, from building out my packages to building out highly customized CRM, letting go of all my old subscriptions and things I relied on to do what I did. And I've had to step back. And the problem with being an IC, just individual contributor in general in work, and then going into entrepreneurship is I don't know how to delegate. I am not great at it. And so I brought on one of my first career coaching clients from 2020. Her name is Jolie. She saved my ass this year and managed all of my speakers and onboarded them. She's doing so much more for me now. And then I have my virtual assistant, Mimi, that has been with me, I would say minimum 20 hours a week for the past 5 years. And she creates all the kick-ass graphics and puts the podcast out. Thanks, Mimi. Have hired another person named Leanne. She's just getting started, has a background in events, as well as she's kind of like an automation guru. Really geeks out on AI, has a track record of helping small to medium-sized businesses use AI more effectively. So we're getting that stuff done, which will make kind of this season I'm in right now, reflecting about 25 and 26. This time next year, because I've implemented these things, will be so much easier. And when I talk about the big feelings, a part of it also is, why didn't you do that earlier? Well, back in 2020, when I got laid off, I didn't think I would be hosting a conference for HR and talent people. Are you crazy? I would have laughed in your face. So here we are. So we had 26. I had that $6,000 mistake of saying yes to streaming virtual, whatever. So after 2026, we had all the content. So shout out to Workfluencer Media, Rona Barnett Pierce. She's been with me since the beginning. She was a speaker at 25 and just ran the media like a badass boss, like a production executive. I swear she's brilliant. And shout out to our partner at Atlanta Creative Media, Thomas Foreman and his team. Even though like they might do some of the same stuff, they work so great together. Both believe in what we're building and how we're doing it. Going back to honoring how people learn, while I'm not the gal that watches the video after, I know and want to honor the rest of you that maybe don't want to come to an in-person conference. Maybe you're not able to, right? And you are the person that prefers to learn through a learning library. So I took action in partnership with Rona, and we produced all of the IRL content into Evolve on Demand. So just think of Evolve IRL like Netflix, and 25 hours, y'all, 25 hours of content. I don't allow speakers on my stage that are just like, Tony Robbins bobblehead, yay, yay, yay. Like, we get into it. I want to have the uncomfortable conversations. I don't want the speakers hogging the stage and the microphone. I want it being passed around the round top tables that I've assigned people to sit at so that they get to learn in a little bit of a different way. And again, that's selfish because I learn by thinking out loud and talking like I have been for an hour. I'm so sorry, y'all. But hey, if you're on a car trip, now you know all of my history with Evolve. But Evolve on Demand is for that different brain. I'm like, all right, forget it. I don't want to be like everyone else. I am going to do it this way. So my process now is after the flagship event, we turn it into a learning library. The other thing, having a product like this is it keeps the conversation going after the event. It takes the content from my speakers and gives it an opportunity to ignite, educate, inspire more people. It gives my sponsors an evergreen product that they are in front of their ideal future hiring authority that come to the learning library. And we offer recertification credits. And for on demand, we'll probably offer more than what was offered at the in-person event. Like I said, y'all HR folks, you busy and you are dealing with a lot. And I know it's important to stay relevant and educated and keep your certifications valid. So Evolve on Demand is a perfect place to get those quick credits if you're coming up on your annual deadline. Not only is it a great space to hear from diverse voices, the speakers that I was so lucky to have in both 25 and 26 are some of the top voices in talent and HR. It's freaking awesome. So we ain't having a virtual option because I said so. One other reflection, gosh, I feel like, well, whatever. I mean, it's a vlog. It's a podcast. Here we are. It's Anna Morgan. On demand, different learners, top leaders. What's next? Evolve 27 in the fall. So I do want you to mark your calendar for, I'd say, mid-October. And if you have to get approval to attend, to be out of the office, and to invest in yourself, Evolve IRL is going to be 2 days. We are going to have an executive track. So you want your senior people in this room, but for your HR business partners, VPs of talent, CHROs, even your full cycle recruiters and sourcers, should be in the room. I don't believe in building a conference just with C-level people. One, they wouldn't stick around for the whole thing. Two, what about the future? Why not host a space that educates and inspires an IC that will be a manager or moves into a role where they have ATS buying decisions, etc. I also believe in bringing HR and talent together because the more we understand what each other does, and that looks so different across all different sizes of organizations and industries, we need to play nice on the field. And I live and operate from a place of abundance and gratitude, and there's enough to go around. And I believe in collaboration over competition. And I've proven that. I've found ways to partner with people that could be competition. I am so grateful, again, for the founders and creators that are hosting conferences and crushing it. Many of them have taken my call and given me advice and been mentors of sorts. And that's meant everything. So here we are, July of 26. Anna Morgan's getting super motivated because I love y'all and I believe in Evolve, and we're going to continue to transform and evolve ourselves as we head into our third flagship conference. And the whole ecosystem looks like this: Evolve, Evolve IRL, Evolve on Demand. Then we have the Evolve Talent and HR show, which I see as kind of the communication hub of this community, because I don't have Ask a Recruiter anymore. So this is where you can get what you need to know. And the podcast here is for all types of people first leaders. I want to spread the word that of the importance of getting out in community in spaces. If you look at the data about what's coming and why people are flooding to a variety of events, invest in your people. Give them the financial resources to attend at least one big conference or decent sized conference every quarter. Whatever that number is, it's going to cost you a lot less if you invest in them and use community building and events and conferences as a loyalty or engagement play. Employees who feel like they're being poured into are going to stick around, right? Surprise and delight them. Don't give them another LinkedIn learning training. Boring. I am grateful. Building Evolve has given me a pathway to express myself, to be creative, and I've been able to support and love on this community by hosting this event, and it's everything. So you have flagship, you have on demand, you have the podcast, and you have the executive tables. And I'm looking to host one the last week in September, as well as out in Vegas in October for HR Tech. So if you want your team in a highly curated, intentional room that gets you the market research and knowledge and trust at that table that will convert to business, then let's book a call. So I am almost out of saliva and I'm feeling very insecure about this episode. Like, I have hopped around a ton. And I'm like, here I am. I've spent all this time talking to y'all and I'm going to delete it. You know, that girl in fifth grade who did fifth grade twice and also flicked off her teacher is definitely still feeling some days like the dumb kid, where I should have this figured out. I should have done this and that. And I don't should on myself anymore. And I just have to move through those feelings and trust what has worked for me before. When I was building Evolve for the first time, I mean, the noise and actually like flat out people saying, you're not gonna get people to pay for that. And again, kind of like the psych eval, like tell me I can't do it and watch me freaking do it. And last year was rough, but it was exactly what it was supposed to be. And I'm so proud of my growth and what's coming next. And I can't stay in that analysis paralysis of I'm not ready, because now I know how to ask for help and I know I've got community that I can call on when stuff blows up. And now for me, I think what's also edgy, as I mentioned, daughter, high school, husband slowing down in work, me just feeling like I'm getting going, I'm gonna really have to be vigilant with my self management, right? I have had quite a transformation physically and spiritually and emotionally, I would say, in the last year. And I'm excited to keep that going. But this season looks different because I feel like I'm just staring myself in the mirror and I'm the only thing that's slowing things down. And I'm so grateful for my team and my partners, Jolie, Mimi, Leanne, all the volunteers that have said yes, to all the attendees that have purchased, and my partners, Workfluencer Media, Atlanta Creative Media. Y'all, I would be dead in the water if not for you. And it's scary scaling. Oh, that's what I was going to say. The other big growth piece, I would say the last year, and remember, I've been going to events since like 2021, and I also try to put myself in very different containers. There's a lot of things that I attend that y'all have no idea about. And I do that because I feel like when I get out of the vacuum, out of this TAHR space, that's where I find innovation. And I get jazzed about doing something a little bit different, taking something from that and this and this and modeling success or just blazing my own trail. I don't recommend planning an event in 69 days, and I don't recommend planning your second conference without the right people in the seats. And that's a whole nother story. That's an episode from Evolve on Demand that Lee Cage gave about the Scully story and having the right people in the right seats. So Evolve 26 was on the runway and had a mechanical failure. And if I had had all the right people on the plane, we could have finished the trip. But because I didn't, I'm not really sure how we got to the destination. Probably had to borrow another plane. But this year we have the right people in the plate and in the seats. And if and when there's a kerfuffle or mechanical failure of sorts, we'll be safe. And we have the foundation, the tools, the knowledge, and the people to keep offering a unique learning experience for HR and talent. I better shut up. I'm Anna Morgan, formerly your career BFF, but really always your career BFF. And I'm excited about this Evolve ecosystem. And I can't wait to see you either in person or reconnect with you virtually. If you have any questions or if there's more you want to know, message me, Anna at evolve-conference.com. This feels like a therapy session. I think I need to go back to therapy. Took a little hiatus during the summer, but definitely going to get that on the to-do list. So anyway, I see y'all. I honor the work that you're doing, and I truly feel like recruitment and HR people leaders are the people that build companies. And Brian Fink always says that recruiters are the people architects, and I wholeheartedly agree. Without those kick-ass recruiters, architects, and HR partners, they would crash and burn as well. So Evolve 27 in the fall, more coming soon. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Please let me know what you thought about this. And yeah, over and out. I don't know how to end this. I love you. Bye. Thanks for joining the Evolve Talent and HR show. If the conversation landed, share it, tell a leader, pass it forward. That is the multiplier in action. one connection at a time, building momentum across our community. And that is what Evolve is. We build the rooms where connection compounds into impact. So don't sleep on the in-person experiences, the IRL conferences, the executive tables, the fringe events, our community. Show up. That's where the multiplier multiplies. If you know, you know. Head over to evolve-conference.com to see what's evolving and how to stay connected. We'll see you next time.